Do you have the links?
And so people went back and shot some more, and then eventually came out here, shot smiley faces, a bunch of smiley faces, hearts.
I hope they get what I said on the paper.
Some of them here today as well.
I said Dory's protecting her voice.
Well, my chalking is always friendly, so I don't know what other people are doing. I know that my friends tend to be peaceful and not be unfriendly with their chalking. But again, we've got chalk here for anybody to pick up, and we've had everybody from, folks who are from the area, just individuals, to families and kids joining in the chalking. So it's a whole range. It's sad. I mean, the kind of person who would be upset by a smiley face is the kind of person who would remove a heart or a peace symbol or a message about peace. Very disturbing. And they're indiscriminate about it as well. It doesn't matter if it's a small child who's doing the chalking or if it's a middle-aged person. They don't know half the time. And it's a real grumpy kind of thing.
So,
at this time it is, although I understand that there's apparently a city council meeting tonight where on the agenda they will be talking about some sort of enforcement of the community. So who knows what they're going to try to do, but if they make chalking illegal, that will be pretty ridiculous.
and there are also people are starting talking about that on the road. Again, are you guys talking around sidewalks, but not on structures?
I don't know what the rules are. I personally wouldn't chalk the monument, but I don't object to people who do. There have been a number of things that have involved the monument over the years, and I understand that people have a certain viewpoint about war and soldiers and things like that. I'm pro-peace personally, so the monument is not something that I particularly enjoy, but I wouldn't chalk it personally.
So the disturbing things that happen you're pro-peace.
No, certainly not. I mean, on freekeene.com it's all about peaceful evolution. And one of the common misconceptions here is that the people who are at Free Keene are somehow everyone who does activism in Keene. There's only about a dozen bloggers at freekeene.com. They're all named and photographed on the website. If somebody's not on that list, they're not a part of Free Keene. So I don't know how peaceful those, anyone outside of Free Keene is. You never know who's going to pick up the shot.
So the person who addressed Dory last night,
definitely not. I'm aware of who he is. We've met a few times, just as Dory knows him, and she knows me. She's talked to him a few times as well. So he's just, I know him as well as I do anybody else in the country.
So he's someone who's not part of the group, but wants to help support or make sure that the project doesn't happen.
I would say he wants to express himself, and honestly, I haven't seen his messages because I haven't been here for those incidents. But anybody who picks up chalk obviously has something to say. And I think that's what's encouraged here, is the folks from this group, Stop Free Keene, this is a kind of protest group, they've always been encouraged to come join in and add their message to what's here. But they don't have a message besides anger, hatred, and apparently in some cases violence. Most of them don't want to talk. They did a silent protest here a few weeks ago. They're not interested in having a conversation, which I think is sad. I think I really appreciate you coming down to report on the story.
One other thing that I just want to make sure I understand our response to the anyone from the group is responsible for not another symbol of the right.
No, I don't know personally what everybody does, right? So another common misconception is that we're organized in a hierarchical manner where someone would be in charge. Usually I get accused of that, and it's nonsense. Nobody's in charge. Everybody does their own thing. I mean, there's some other chalkers around here. You're certainly welcome to ask them if they're chalking.
And if you were to describe would you say
Freekeene.com is all about moving to a peaceful, consensual society. I'm a voluntarist, so I believe all human interaction should be on a consensual basis. And so Freekeen's also a news site where we report on some of the activism that's going on here in Keene and also across the state, Manchester, Concord, etc. So it's kind of a news blog. It's also an opinion blog as well. And a lot of people focus on the blog as though it's the problem, but it's just reporting. People are just reporting on what's happening, and we're doing individual things. People have different projects. Not everybody is a chalker. Derek is over there. He's one of our bloggers, and he doesn't participate in chalking.
So just through the chalking, you're just trying to promote peace and freedom.
Well, yeah, I mean, chalking, it's open to anybody, so I prefer more speech rather than deletion of speech. If people are speaking, and that's what this is to me, and if somebody else doesn't like it, I would rather see them speak out rather than remove the existing speech.
Yeah. Well, I guess you probably got, somebody there probably got my impression.
Yeah, absolutely. Get whoever you want. That get her, because she's awesome.
But I've never done the wheel bend in the rear. Since I replaced the wheel, everything is all weird.
How are you?
Doing well. Today is actually the 3rd anniversary of a very large mass arrest that occurred in front of the Manchester Police Department for chalking. Yeah, it was called the Chalking 8 incident. I was among several people who were rounded up in that, and some of the people actually were from Keene.
Oh, really?
So yeah, there's quite a history of chalking here. But earlier we were chalking in front of the police department and nobody even came out. It shows the difference of perspective on chalking in Keene. The police aren't worried about it, but the people might attack you for it.
Now,
whereas in Manchester, it was the opposite.
do you guys chalk in certain areas, or is it wherever you want?
I will generally focus on Central Square, but I'll also go out onto the sidewalks, up and down downtown, just all around city property that's on the ground and flat. They've asked us not to chalk, like the retaining wall of the parking garage over there. I've chalked that before and they asked us not to, so I didn't after that when the police asked nicely. Because I figure if the police ask you nicely, like they could arrest you, and they don't, so it's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't participated in chalking of the monument. I know it's been done several times and it's offended people. I don't recommend it, but I also think it's somebody's right to do so if they want, because it will just wash away even on the monument.
And that's really why police can't, if they were going, they can't do anything because chalk distance is away.
Right. I believe it was Russell Means had a court case where he had poured blood on a Columbus statue, like fake blood, and it was something non-toxic that washes away. And that sort of protest was deemed to be free speech because even though what he was doing was defacing it temporarily, by its nature it would rinse away and just return it to its normal state. And chalk is the same way. So I would think that if it was challenged, if somebody was arrested for chalking on the monument and that was brought to court, I would think that on appeal that would win as free speech.
Right.
But the purpose of my chalking isn't antagonizing people, so if there's something that's particularly going to anger people, I'm not really wanting to do it. I like doing the smiley faces and positive political messages.
So there are people that say that not everything is positive or peaceful, and are those people not part of are they in a different group, or?
Sure, well I think some people are just individuals who may have just been inspired to chalk one day. For example, one of the controversial days of chalking was when fat stuff down the street was being raided by the DEA. And there were many people that came out, just civilians with cameras, some people that were just interested, some people that were deeply offended. They don't like the DEA, they didn't want a store in their town being raided the way it was and just emptied of its inventory. Some people did write things like fuck the DEA and fuck the feds. So of course that was attributed to Free Keene, even though it wasn't Free Keene bloggers that did the chalking. So, but I mean, I don't encourage people to use profanity, but if someone expresses himself in that way, I feel that it is protected as far as like nobody can arrest them for it. I mean, someone could just come wash it away if they want.
Right.
This is Casey. And you remember? I don't know what to do.
I think a lot of the negativity that's associated with chalking and Free Keene is like a history of things that have been going on in Keene as far as Free Keene activism that just offended local people, like smoking pot in Central Square. They always bring up like there was a topless protest with women, and they always bring up like there was open consumption of alcohol, which at this point it's almost like the police don't really bat an eye at if it's an activist. Like they'll arrest and cite college kids for open containers of alcohol, but if a bunch of activists come to the square and are having a party in the middle of the night, as long as we're not being loud, there's probably not even going to be a police stop. So it's an interesting dynamic where the police, I feel, they've come to a point where they almost have to be our protectors, even though activists here are very critical of a lot of police action. And I think they realize that the people associated with Free Keene are nonviolent people, they're peaceful people, and they oppose these instances of violence that are occurring, no matter who it's occurring to.
Now, is the artwork erased almost immediately as it's put down? Or is it
I'd say it's been about 2 weeks that it's been a consistent thing where just about every day somebody will come out. There have been 1 or 2 occasions where people have come out while we were chalking, so they've been moving them while we're doing them. But other times they'll allow us to finish and leave before they'll come out.
And then would you say that the chalking is replaced every day?
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
Within 24 hours time span, there's probably new chalking down if it's not raining. And I guess as of today, as of this morning, the city has asked people not to remove water from the fountain, because that was one of the tactics of people who were removing it, was to bring buckets and just take it from the fountain and pour it on the ground.
And so why?
I believe it's messing with the regulation of water.
Oh, okay.
For the capacity in there it needs. But there's a hose that's underneath this little plank over here, and some of the Stop Free Keene crowd have been granted permission to use that hose, and they'll just bring that out and spray everything.
Did you get enough beer or anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for talking.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Have a good day, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.